All right. Then let's come to your mat. Okay, let's come to your mat now. Straighten your legs first. And then take both your hands on each side of your hip point. And then you can also feel where your pubic bone is and feel where your belly button is. And I'd like you to just take a moment to rest. Okay, let your body rest on the floor. See if it's comfortable to have your legs straight. If it's really uncomfortable to have your legs straight at this point of time, you can bend your knees and have your feet on the floor. But if you can, just have your legs straight. And just feel into the two halves of your pelvis. Okay. Just notice if one side of the hip bone might be different from the other side. Maybe one side might be a little bit higher, one side might be a bit lower, or one side is closer towards the center, one side is further away from the center. Or maybe one side is more protruding, one side is less protruding. Just notice if there's any difference between the two sides of the hip point. And bring the image of the clock face to your pelvis. So feel into where 12 o'clock is, which is your pubic bone. And then where 6 o'clock is, which is your belly button. And then feel where is the position of 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And then feel into the whole lower belly area. Feel how you're breathing there. If there is any movement through your breath. Or any gripping or holding or tension in this area of your clock face. And then bend your knees. Have your feet on the floor and take your hands away now. Okay, take your arms alongside the body. Continue to breathe into this lower belly area. Breathe into this area of between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, between 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And then the next time you breathe in, just tip the clock a little bit more towards 12 o'clock so you come into an arch of the back, spinal extension. So you're taking the pubic bone further away from you, so that's 12 o'clock. Then when you breathe out, tip it back to 6 o'clock. So you're coming into more of a spinal flexion. Then you're just rocking your pelvis forward on the inhale and backwards on the exhale, like what we just usually do. But instead of the movement coming from your lower back or from your spine, let the movement come from the pelvis. So I want you to just feel 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock rocking back and forth. So feeling the breath as you inhale, let the belly expand and rock the clock towards 12 o'clock. And then as you exhale, draw the belly in, the belly moves back in and find your way into 6 o'clock. Going back and forth. 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Let the movement follow your breath. So it's not too, you're not just doing it as an exercise, but you're feeling it through the length of your breath. Into 12 and then back to 6. And notice if there is any area that might feel tense or any discomfort, maybe on one side, maybe somewhere in the spine. And then come back to the center. Take a breath. And feel where it's 3 o'clock and where it's 9 o'clock. And then you're going to just rock over to 9, rock over to 3. So let that movement come from the pelvis again, just letting one, so maybe 3 o'clock lift, and then 9 o'clock lift. It's almost like you're going into a spinal twist. So you're just rocking side to side. Once again, see if you can allow the movement to be slow and mindful. Try not to let both your legs stick together. Just allow the differentiation between 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So you're not just kind of doing this, but you're letting the clock face lift through between 3 and 9. So it lifts and descends, and then it lifts. And then let's get a little bit more creative. Let's go clockwise from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And then go around again in clockwise position, moving from 12 all the way around back to 12. So you're tilting the pelvis not just forward and backwards, but also sideways, and maybe also upwards and downwards. So you find 3 planes of movement for your pelvis. Moving through the whole clock face. And then switching around, going counterclockwise from 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and then to 3 o'clock, and to 12 o'clock. So going counterclockwise, a few rounds. Once again, moving through across 3 planes, forward and backwards, side to side, up and down. Just noticing how this is translating into your breath. Okay, and then coming back to the center. Now I'd like you to find 2 o'clock on the right side of your pelvis. So it goes more into the groin area now. Okay. And then find 8 o'clock on the left side of your pelvis. So it's just above your left hip bone. And imagine that there is a marble in the center of your clock face, and you're just going to tilt the marble now from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So we're just exploring different movements of the pelvis. Because when we sit a lot, we tend to just get the pelvis stuck in one position. So let's get a little bit more curious about the other times or the other digits on the clock face, particularly between 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock. If you're not quite sure where that is, you can even use your hands to find the digits on your clock face. Good. And then let's shift to 10 o'clock on the left side of your pelvis near your groin to 4 o'clock on the right side of your pelvis. So just above your right hip point, go between 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And imagine that marble rolling between these 2 points, but not dropping that marble from the center of your clock face. And then coming back to the center once again. Take your hands away from the clock if you have your hands on your pelvis, and straighten your legs again. Come back to baseline. Bring your attention back to the lower belly area. Feel your breath around the lower belly. And notice if anything has shifted or changed for you. If the 2 sides feel perhaps more even, more grounded. Feel the lower back on each side might touch the floor a little bit more rather than being elevated, or if it's tense, does it release some tension here? And the 2 sides of your hip points, are they more even, more on the same plane, same level? And then bend your knees again. Have your feet on the floor. And find your strap or your shawl or your belt or your towel. And then you're going to pick up the right leg. So when you pick up the right leg, let that movement come from the right thigh bone rather than hitching up the right hip. Okay, so you're not changing the planes of your clock. You're still trying to keep the clock 9 o'clock and 6 o'clock on the same level, 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock and 12 to 6, and then on the same plane, and just picking up the right leg. Okay, then you're going to take the strap. The strap can go under the ball of your right foot, or it can go onto the arch of your right foot. Okay, and I'd like you to relax your shoulders, maybe even have your elbows resting on the floor if the strap is long enough. And keep the awareness on your clock. Keep the clock even and steady and stable mostly. Begin to kick the right leg away into the strap. So you're not pulling the right leg into you, but you're kicking the right leg away from you and keeping the clock face as even as possible. Okay. So here is an active stretch. You're kicking your foot into the strap, and the strap resists your foot and brings the energy back into your pelvis. I'd like you to continue to breathe and bring your breath into the lower belly area. And keep 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock balanced as much as possible. 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock along the midline of your body. See if you can still keep your awareness for one more breath cycle until the end of your exhale. And then you're going to use your right hand to hold the strap. Left hand, bring it to your left hip point, and then just take the right leg out. As you take the right leg out, perhaps you feel 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock moving away from each other, but they are still on the same level. So 3 o'clock doesn't come higher than 9 o'clock. Okay? You try to keep it at the same level. So again, you are not trying to go for the furthest stretch, but trying to keep a sense of stability in the clock. Complete one more breath cycle. And when you move the leg back to the center, let the movement come from the leg rather than pulling yourself back. Bring the leg bone back towards the center. And then switch the hands. Use the left hand to hold the strap. You can take the right arm out to the side. Okay? And you're going to cross the right leg over towards the left side. And let the left knee come towards the midline as well, so that it doesn't let the right leg go completely across. You're not going into a full spinal twist, but you're just crossing the midline. So 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock moves closer to each other. Okay? But they are still at the same level. Notice now, even though 3 and 9 are closer together, can you still find space in the lower belly to allow breath to move? Make sure you're not locking your jaw. Shoulders relax, keeping the belly active. Completing the next exhale, and bring the leg back to center. Okay. Remove the strap, and then lower the right leg down. Straighten the left leg, come back to baseline. Take a moment to feel if there's a difference between the right side and the left side. Maybe even in the lower back area. Okay, bend your knees again. And then this time, bring the left leg up. Once again, as you bring the left leg up, make sure your left hip does not hike up. 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock remains in the same level, 12 to 6, along the midline. And then place the strap over the left foot, the sole of the left foot. Okay? And then relax the shoulders, so that the shoulders ground towards the floor. Maybe the elbows can touch the floor. And then kick that left foot away from you. Keeping the awareness in the lower belly area, keeping the clock face. quiet and stable. Breathing into the lower belly. Complete the full exhale. Now take your right hand to your right hip point. Left hand hold the strap. And then take the left leg out to the side. Let 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock come away from each other, but still on the same level. Just finding stillness within the breath. Letting the nervous system reset to this active stretch. When you complete the next exhale, bring the left leg back to the center. Switching your hands, so use the right hand to hold the strap. Left arm can go out to the side, and then you cross both legs towards the midline. So moving into just a half twist, so still keeping 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock on the same plane. And also turn your head in the opposite direction. So if your left leg is going towards the right side, turn your head towards the left. Still finding spaciousness in the lower belly area for one more cycle of breath. Good. And then the exhale takes you back to the center. Release the strap. Lower the left leg down. Straighten both legs once again and come back to your baseline. Just notice how the two sides feel, not just the two sides of the pelvis, but the whole body. How does the whole body feel? How is your back body touching the floor? You're able to find a bit more spaciousness in your breath, your lower back, your belly. And just roll over to the side and come up to sitting. Realize the sun is coming through so strongly from the windows. Alright, how is everybody doing? Okay? Yeah, great. Okay, so let's come on to the hands and knees. Okay. So even though this is kind of something that we do very regularly in yoga, it's tabletop position and then coming into cat and cow, but I like you to really bring the awareness to the clock between 12 to 6, 3 to 9. Okay. So have your hands a little bit wider than your shoulders and slightly higher than your shoulders to take the tension away from your wrists. Okay, so you're not overextending your wrists. And have your knees hip width distance directly under your hips. Okay, you can have your toes curl under, or you can have your feet flat on the floor. So take a moment here before you come into movement. Just feel into the clock again, the digits on the clock. Maybe you want to add in other digits like 1 and 2 o'clock, 4 and 5, 7 and 8, 10 and 11. Okay. Feel the breath on this plane. So in this relationship to gravity, how does your breath move in the lower belly without consciously making any intentional movement, but just feeling the movement of your breath? And then begin to till 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Again, and then 6 to 12. So you're coming into cat and cow. So as you go towards 12 o'clock, you're coming into a cow pose, and the spine extends. You come into an arch. Notice how that moves all the way to your head. And then as you move towards 6 o'clock, the spine flexes, and maybe the head moves towards the floor more. So also become curious about your relationship between the pelvis and the head. So most of the time when we are hunched over a computer, we are only in our head and we forget the relationship with the rest of our body. So bring the whole midline back. The clock plays 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, up through the spine, all the way to the crown of your head. And then begin to move 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock again. So this might mean that you're starting to move laterally into lateral flexion. So one side of the pelvis moves sideways, and then the other side moves more. So lengthening each side of the waistline. And then begin to go clockwise again from 12 to 3 to 6 to 9 and to 12, to 3 to 6 and to 9. Feeling the quality of your breath. So you're not really controlling or adjusting your breath here, just bringing the breath to where you're bringing the attention to in your movement. And then go counterclockwise, 12 to 9 to 6 to 3 and back to 12. What is your experience between clockwise and counterclockwise? And now if you like to maybe draw a figure of 8 through the digits of the clock. And feel how that moves through the whole body. The whole body coordinates and integrates through this movement from the pelvis all the way through the spine, through to the rib cage. So when the rib cage houses our heart and our lungs, where the vagus nerves also innervates, how that moves through all the way to the head, to the arms and the hands, down the spine to the legs and the feet. And then come back to stillness, to tabletop position. So not doing anything, any conscious movement anymore, and just letting the breath flow again in the lower belly area. Notice anything change. Okay. And Then bring the big toes together, let the knees come apart. Slowly just stretch your tailbone back towards your heels. See how much of your pelvis, the clock face, can still remain open as you come into a child's pose. And then taking a few breaths in child's pose, allow the belly to soften. Notice the breath, particularly in the lower belly. Good. And then coming back onto your hands and knees. Curl your toes under and let's come into a downward facing dog here. I'd like you to just keep your knees bent for now so that you can still keep some sort of mobility in the lower belly area between the hip joints. Okay. If you were to straighten your legs too soon, it might lock into the pelvis and your pelvis come into a tuck. So I like you to keep your knees bent as much as you need to. And then play around again as you bend one knee at a time first. So you're just initiating a movement from your legs, bending one knee at a time. And notice how the clock face changes as you bend one knee at a time and pressing the opposite heel towards the ground. And begin to bring the movement of the pelvis and through the whole body into an awareness of how you're able to maintain some sort of stability between 3 and 9 and 12 to 6. And then step the right foot between your hands and place your left knee on the floor. So you're coming into a low lunge. Take the right hand to the inside of your right foot and take your right foot out to the side. Okay? So you're coming more into a lizard pose. I'm just going to be this way so you can see. And then find 12 and 6, 3 and 9 again. And then play around a little bit so cycle through the clock. Again, maybe moving through clockwise, 12 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 12. And then go counterclockwise, 12 to 9 to 6 to 3 and to 12. Just notice one direction might feel easier or more fluid than the other. And then take the right hand back outside your right foot, heel toe the right foot back in, curl the toe back, left toes under, and step back into downward facing dog. Just notice if there's a difference in the two sides, and if you like to bend one knee at a time again, and just walk the dog out. When you're ready, step the left foot forward, back into a low lunge. Take the left hand inside your left foot, heel toe your left foot out to the side. And once again, coming into a lizard pose, finding the clock, and then moving around. Clockwise first. And then counterclockwise. And bring the left hand back outside the left foot heel, so the left foot back into the center. Pick up the right knee, step back to downward facing dog. Notice what you notice. Let the nervous system record that experience. Walk the legs out if you need to. And then bring the knees down and bring your belly back down onto the ground. Okay. So we're going to come into some Cobra Poses here. So what we're working with through the vagus nerve is to work through the organs first, work through the pelvic floor, work through the organs, and now we're going to work into the heart and the lungs area. Okay, all these are innervated by the vagus nerve. So I'd like you to just take your hands into cactus, arms first, so like a or lizard or whatever you call it, gecko, and then bring the chin to your chest and forehead to the floor first. Okay. So just taking a few breaths. If this is uncomfortable for you, you can also fold your hands underneath your forehead. So I'd like you to just take a few breaths here. Allow the floor to bring you more feedback into the belly area. And notice now how your legs are splayed on the floor. So are your feet turning in or turning out? Okay. And knowing that there's a relationship between the orientation of your feet and your pelvis, I'd like you to just bring your legs a little bit closer together. And make sure that your feet are neither turning out or turning in, but in a neutral position. So the tops of the feet are pressing into the floor, the soles of the feet is facing up towards the sky. Okay. And then as you breathe in, allow the inhalation to lift the chest up. So you're not yanking your head back, you're not pushing yourself up, but you're just using the volume of the lungs as you breathe in to lift up into a gentle cobra. And then as you exhale, you're going to lower down. And as you inhale, can you come back up again? And exhale to lower down. And do that again 3 more cycles. Inhale, allow the lungs to inflate so you're not using unnecessary tension in your neck to lift yourself up. And then exhale, allow the lungs to deflate. Okay. So the heart rests between the lungs. And so you're not stressing the heart, but you're feeding the oxygen through these vital organs. It's doing one more time as you breathe in to lift up. And then as you breathe out to release. Good. And then the next time you breathe in, come up. Okay. Feel the clock face touching the floor and how that is supporting you in this position, in this back bend. And I'd like you to just twist a little bit over to the right side so that 3 o'clock is moving slightly away from 9. And then come back to center and twist a little bit towards your left side. And then do that a few more times. So you're also opening up the lungs through the side body, lengthening each side of the waistline, creating a little bit more space for the large intestines. And then coming back, the next time, breathe out, come back to the center, bring the hands alongside the chest. And then as you inhale, maybe lift up a little bit more. And then as you exhale, come back into downward facing dog. Start to walk the feet towards the hands. Keep the knees bent. Like you keep the knees bent so that you can still find space between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. They're not bunched up together. Keep the space between 12 and 6, 3 and 9. Okay, and then just come up into a chair pose, Utkatasana. Keeping 3 and 9 on the same level, 12 and 6 on the same level. Yes. And then just letting the breath move in the lower belly. Good. And then slowly coming up on the next breath, coming into mountain pose, standing, arms by the sides. Okay. So I've got now the fish eye lens on, so you're able to see my whole body. Yeah, everyone can see. So we're just going to move into some standing poses here before we come back down onto the ground, okay? So I'll let you take your right leg forward and your left leg back. And here it's important to keep both the knees soft, okay? And make sure that, especially the front knee doesn't collapse inwards. The knee and the toes are tracking in the same direction. Okay? The back leg is soft, so you're not locking into like a typical warrior one position. You are still keeping the back leg soft. The knee is soft. Okay. So bringing the awareness back to the lower belly area, the clock. You can take the hands to the clock, the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock first if you like to. And then I'd like you to just keep the knees bent. And then move around again in the clockwise position, bringing 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then back to 12. So just finding this movement here and how that translates into your feet. So movement from the pelvis, feel how the weight transfer into the feet. Okay. And then switch direction, go counterclockwise. Okay, and then come back to the center. Now you're going to use the socks. Okay. Or if you have a very, very soft squishy ball, you can use a soft squishy ball. But most of you have tennis balls and stuff. I don't like tennis balls and stuff. I like soft, which is why I use socks. Okay. But I'm just going to, for demonstration purpose, it's easier to see the ball. So I'm just going to use the ball for demonstration purpose. Okay. You're going to take the ball or the sock, the bunch of socks under the ball of your feet, and the heel is on the floor. Find the clock face here, okay? But this time, you're going to take your arms, let your arms be free. Let your arms be an expression of your breath and your state of being and your nervous system. So I like you to be able to express yourself however you want through your arms, okay? And then you're just balancing on the bunch of socks on the ball of your foot. And then you're going to move through again in a clockwise position, 12 o'clock to 3 to 6, to 9, and then to 12. Okay, so it's important to keep the knees soft. And then once you get the hang of it, once you kind of get into how the nervous system is informing you, allow the movement to be free. Just allowing the breath to slow down and let the breath inform the movement of your pelvis, and then let the pelvis lead the whole body. So what is coming through the feet is an additional input. It requires a little bit more stability for you to stay balanced, a little bit more stability in the clock phase. And then come back to center. Now you're going to move the feet, the ball underneath the heels now. So it's almost like you're wearing high heel shoes, okay? So just now was dorsal flexion, now you're coming into plantar flexion, and then same thing here, you're gonna keep the knees soft. Take the arms out or in front of you or up ahead, anywhere you want to, and then initiate the movement from the pelvis. I like to channel some Qigong or Tai Chi movement from the arms to just allow the energy to flow through the whole body. So imagine that you are holding an energy ball between your hands, and how would you direct this energy ball from the dantian, from the lower belly, the lower dantian, if you are familiar with Tai Chi. Okay. One more nice long breath here. And then this time, you're going to bring the ball just under the arch of your foot. Okay? So at first was dorsal flexion, plantar flexion, and now it's just under the arch of your foot. Okay? And then once again, you don't have to keep the stance really narrow. You can have the feet quite wide. Once again, I'd like you to just explore. You don't have to go clockwise or counterclockwise now. I'd like you to just explore what are the possible movements. What are the new pathways that you can inform your nervous system? So one thing that is great when we are outdoor in nature is that the roads we walk along, the ground we walk is not flat. So it gives different inputs through the pathways of energy in our body. But when we are in an urban setting, and the worst thing is when we're stuck at home, we don't get a lot of movement. Okay, and then come back. Just shake out the leg. Okay. Just take a moment to notice if there's a difference between the right side and the left side, and then we'll switch when you're ready. Okay, so coming into, left without the ball first. Okay, so just feet flat, keeping the both knees bent. If you want to you can begin with both sides, having your hands on both sides of the hips. Just feeling into this clock phase, but finding movements that is familiar and movement that's not familiar. So counterclockwise is generally a non-familiar movement if you are right-handed. And then I'll try it with the bunch up socks underneath the ball of your feet. Ball of your left foot. Have your arms free to explore. So the arms are an extension of our lungs and our heart. And switching to underneath the heel, how that feels. The arms want to move. Challenge your stability when you place the ball under the arch of your foot, so your toes and your heels are not touching. So you need to bring that awareness back to the lower belly even more. How do you create this inner dance with just the music of your breath? The quietness of your heart. And then coming back to standing. Stand on 2 feet on the ground now. See how that feels. How much do you feel the ground beneath you supporting you? When we are stuck in our heads, once again, we don't feel the ground. We feel our feet. And then one last thing we're going to explore while standing is to also activate the vagus nerve through the larynx. Since all of you are on mute, I invite you to make any sounds that you like, okay? What I'd like you to do is to imagine that you are going skiing. So you're taking a ski pose. So it's almost like a Utkatasana, like a chair pose. And for those of you who have done a few classes with me, bring that resonance between the rib cage and the pelvis, so you are not overarching and you are not tucking, okay? So the rib points to the hip points are on the same plane. The clock face remain open between 12 and 6, 3 to 9, okay? And if you like to, you can bring your hands to the rib area. And I can suggest that you can explore beginning with the sound ah. So as you make the sounds, begin to just feel how it resonates through from the vocal cords through into the ribs and perhaps into the, maybe it vibrates the clock. Try ooh. And try So just take a few more breaths.
just with each exhale, try a sound. It can be the same sound, it can be different sounds. You can even take your hands down to palpate different parts of the body as you make these sounds. You can sing. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Okay, and then just hold on to the opposite side of your elbows, fold over, let your head be like a durian. Back to side. And then come back down onto your mat. Just bring your bunch up sock again. And then this time, bring it underneath the sacrum and roll over it. So it's providing a little feedback. And I'd like you to just roll around a little, just do a little self-massage with the clock face. Notice the different digits, where they are placed, what's their position. And you can also now, you can roll over to the side and move the sock down between the shoulder blades. Okay. Free up the back of the lungs. So again, any movement that feels good for you. I have my arms up towards the sky so that I can get into some of the juicy places in the thoracic spine. And then roll over to the side again, remove the sock from underneath you, draw your knees towards you, one hand on each knee. So you're not pulling it towards, you're not lifting the butt up, but you're allowing the clock to settle back. Okay, the knees are apart. And then take a breath in to the lower belly. Exhale. We want to just allow the knee to roll in clockwise position. And then counterclockwise a few times. And then coming back to stillness. If there's anything else you feel that your body needs, take a moment to stretch it out, twist it out, roll it out. And then when you're ready, straighten your legs, your arms apart, away from your body. So coming back into this anatomical position. Allow the weight of your body to release completely to the floor. Letting the belly really soften. Feeling the spaciousness of your breath. Where is your breath touching? From the inside to the outside. Allowing the shoulders to completely relax so that the lungs and the heart are not working unnecessarily. Allow the face and the jaw to release and soften. Allow the breath to come into its natural flow. It's feeling the support of gravity. Letting the nervous system record the sense of grounding and safety. Allowing the breath become deeper and longer. Let the awareness come back to the body, to the belly area. Let's begin to move maybe the toes and the fingers. You can roll the head very slowly to one side and then to the other. Just begin to stretch your arms over your head. You can bring your legs back together and take a nice deep breath. Nice good yawn. The yawn is actually our body's innate built-in system for resetting our body, our nervous system. And bend your knees and roll over to a side. Stay in this position first, in a fetal position. Feel into the breath between the front and the back body. And allowing the support of your breath to help you back up into sitting. And I'd like you to we're going to do just a quick lymphatic drainage. Lana had to go because she has another class. So imagine that you're wearing a glove. Okay, so we just bring the lymph draining back towards the heart. So imagine you're wearing a glove, a nice long glove that goes all the way to the heart. Okay, so whichever side you prefer, I'm doing it with my right hand first. So you're going to wear the glove into each of your fingers, set it into each of your fingers, wear it through your hands, and then up to your elbow, all the way strip it out towards the armpit, the shoulders, under the armpit, especially lots of lymph nodes here towards the chest, the sternum, and then all the way towards the heart. Check it out. Feel if your right arm is longer than your left. And then do the other side, wear it through the fingers. Hand, the wrist, and out to the elbow, to the shoulder, armpit, all the way to the chest and the sternum, the center of the sternum to the heart. Shake it out. And then bring the palms together to the center of the heart space. And take a breath here. Allow the inhale to lift the heart. The exhale to rest the heart. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.